Welcome to the Flute 360 podcast. I'm here as your life coach and number one cheerleader with a flute in hand, ready to help your artistry and career soar. Whether you're pursuing personal growth or flute career goals, I'm here to guide you every step of the way. You've got this. Today's episode is episode 304, Killing the Starving Artist Mentality, SEO Strategies for the Modern Flutist with Dr. Tonya Lawson. Hey, Flute 360er. I know how it feels to crave a supportive group, especially when you don't have many flute friends or need that extra space to practice and perform. I felt the same way at different stages in my career, wanting feedback, community, and expert advice. What I found is that being part of a group like ours makes all the difference. That's why I'm inviting you to join us on Saturday, October 26, 2024, from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central Time for a special flute studio support session with myself and Dr. Dennette Derby McDermott. Whether you're preparing for competitions, auditions, or have career questions about pedagogy or running your own studio, we're here to support your personal, artistic, and career growth. Click the Tier 2 or Tier 3 links in the show notes below to join us live. We can't wait to see you there. Hey there, Flute 360er. Welcome back to another podcast episode, and I am so thrilled to have this upcoming guest today come into our world. Her name is Dr. Tonya Lawson, and she and I have a lot of mutual friends and colleagues in our music orbit, but now we actually get to sit down, get to know each other better, and I get to pick her brain on musicpreneurship, SEO, and everything in between. So thank you, Tonya, so much for carving out time for us. We really appreciate your expertise, and I cannot wait to get to know you better.
I'm so excited to be here, and likewise.
Yeah. So how has the start of your October been?
It has started off with a big bang. I'm very excited because next week is fall break here in the schools, and I actually go into the schools to teach music lessons, and I have canceled all of my lessons. I'm not teaching any lessons next week. I'm just working on my coaching business, and I am cleaning my house from top to bottom. We're having fall cleaning instead of spring cleaning over here.
Yeah. I was feeling that this way on the treadmill. We work out in the garage, and we have really great shelves, and we have really great Rubbermaids and bins, right? Of just collecting of holiday stuff and family heirlooms. And I just thought, I need a purge. I just need to get ready for, the end of the year, and before things get cold, I just want to get rid of a lot of junk.
Oh yeah, there's definitely going to be some decluttering happening. And then also, it's been a while since I've really pulled out the furniture and dusted behind it, got into the corners of the baseboard. So we are going to get this place shining.
Nice. Yeah, get down to the nitty gritty. I love that. So pre-recording, we were only chatting for a few minutes before I hit record. And I started getting to know you better in terms of your degrees, where you live now. Can you bring the listener up to full speed of your background, a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So, first of all, we learned that we went to the same graduate school a few years apart. We both went to Texas Tech. I was there a little earlier than you. And I graduated with my doctorate in 2005. And there were 50 clarinet jobs because clarinet is my primary instrument. I do also play and teach flute as a doubler, but clarinet is my primary instrument. And 50 job openings, I applied for all of them, and I made the short list for 2. I made the top 2 candidates, and in both instances, they picked someone with experience as I was fresh out of graduate school. Totally understand that. So I started building a music studio because it's what I knew how to do. I had already done it in my hometown, and then I did it again when I lived in Lubbock. And then so now I'm back in Nashville. I got to do this. I've got to build a music studio. And I did, kind of not super serious about it, just to get by till the next round of interviews. The next year, there were only 5 jobs open in the entire country.
Mm-hmm.
I applied for all of them. I made the final 2 for one of them, and they went for the candidate who had considerably more experience.
Mm.
Now, I will say I totally lucked out. It was kismet because the person who got that job moved to Nashville 3 years later with no job prospect whatsoever because that job was so terrible. So I'm
Oh,
not mad about it, but I
wow.
realized I've got to get serious about like providing for myself as a musician.
Yep.
This university job thing may not be all it was cut out to be. And then I was also starting to learn how much university jobs paid.
Mm-hmm.
That's my fault for not knowing in advance, but it was not what I thought it was.
Mm.
So I continued to build my music studio, and I built a really successful music studio. But as I mentioned, I go into the schools and teach music lessons. And I think Tennessee and Texas are the only 2 states that I know of that allow that. And they're the 2 states that I've lived and taught in. And as part of that, the school system here decided maybe we don't want to do this anymore. Maybe this
Mm.
is a liability for bringing these people in. And they thought about cutting it. And I panicked.
I bet.
I panicked. I was like, this is my livelihood. What am I going to do? Now, luckily, that did not happen. Instead, they created an even better system where we had to like apply for our positions, be approved by the school board, get background checked. Now we're covered under the school's liability insurance,
Mm-hmm.
and we're paid by the school itself instead of by the students individually.
Interesting.
So it actually worked out pretty well. But in my moment of panic, I realized I was keeping all of my eggs in one basket.
Okay.
And that's really just not a good plan because you never know when it's all going to just go away, when the
Yep.
gigs are going to stop, when the students aren't taking anymore. And I knew that I needed to create multiple income streams.
Yep.
And I knew that I had this website as a musician and other people were making money from their websites. There had to be a way for me to do that too. So I took my first SEO course. Now, I will tell you, it was taught by a bunch of bros who told me I could never make money with my musician website, that I needed to create a niche website. So that's what I did. I started my coffee website. I was like, I am like a coffee addict. I love all things coffee. I'll do this. And it did really well. It
Hmm.
started bringing in an additional income source. And I thought, there's got to be a way to take what I've learned here and apply it to my music website. And it
Mm.
worked. And I started really tweaking what I learned and trying to incorporate it, and it worked. I started making even more money from my music website than I was from my coffee website. Then COVID hit. We know what happened. The entire Nashville Symphony got furloughed for a year.
Yep. I
So
remember that.
you've got all these orchestral musicians out there like trying to teach lessons, bagging groceries at Piggly Wiggly just to have a place to live. And, nobody could have foreseen that coming. And I was one of the few musicians who actually made more money during COVID because I already was really familiar with the online presence. I was able to sell like lessons through my website. And of course, I have more time. I'm not driving into the schools. So I created a third website about my other passion, gardening. And
Mm.
it's starting to take off and earn money now.
Oh, congratulations. The plants and the plant poster in the background verifies the gardening aspect of your life.
Oh yeah, my entire yard. I live on a quarter acre and we don't really have a lawn. We just have gardens. So I have
Okay.
I have vegetable gardens in the backyard where I grow our food. I have a native garden bed where I attract native caterpillars to like monarchs and all of that. And then my front yard is all like cottage garden.
Oh my gosh. We're going to have you come back on later so I can pick your brain on gardening because, girl, I do not have a green thumb. I kill plants so bad and then I never buy anymore because I feel so bad that I'm just like killing off these beautiful green plants.
Well, you have to know up front and admit, as a gardener, you are gonna kill some plants. I have killed
Okay.
many. I have killed many along the
Okay.
way as I've learned how to do this.
Good to know. I feel a bit relieved. There's so much that you just said in your backstory, and I could be here forever picking your brain on all of these different avenues. The first thing that I want to go down rabbit hole number one is that transition from DMA academia world into your own business. A lot of Flute 360ers have a hard time with the word business. I think, and I'm empathetic, I think they see it as this like 4-letter word. My art will support itself just the way it is. I'm the artist. I'm creative. I like to play with colors. Don't talk to me about numbers, figures, things like that. Do you resonate with that? And if so, or perhaps maybe you have clients in the past who resonate with that story, and how would you help them with that narrative of flipping the script?
Oh, I 100% resonate with this. And yes, I have worked with clients. I actually just spoke at the Music Marketing Summit, and I got this question a lot from professional musicians who, not in the classical world, this one was all like rock musicians and metal musicians. It was a lot of fun because it was a whole different group of people, but it was the same thing. This is my art. So in school, I had a lot of professors and fellow students who sold the starving artist lifestyle as being just romantic. They romanticize this, you're sacrificing from your art. I distinctively remember a professor saying to me, "Oh, well, I just know that I'm never going to be able to retire. I'll work until I die, but that's okay because I love what I do and it's my art." Now, that same professor is now in administration because he also realized he would like to retire one day.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. Yes, it is your art. But if you are making money from it and it is supporting you, it is also your business. And if you're not, it's simply a hobby.
Yep.
So there is nothing wrong with wanting a place to live. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be able to go out and get a cup of coffee anytime you want without having to like pinch your pennies or put it on a credit card. There is nothing wrong with that. And I think in the music industry, myself included, because this was me much younger. Now I just turned 47. And I tout my age because I truly think it has given me a lot of wisdom over time. And there's nothing romantic about being terrified you're not going to be able to pay your bills.
Boom. Yes.
That's what it comes down to. And you're not sacrificing your art because you want that basic human right of being able to make a living.
Oh, completely 1000%. Yes. Everybody needs a roof over their head, clothes on their back, food in their tummy, for them to just survive, just the basic necessities of life. And then from there, once you are covered and supported in that way, then you can thrive as an artist. Then you can get off the page and create with colors because you feel that you are financially supported. You have that groundwork there. And then when you go to your stand, when you go to the easel, when you go to whatever your medium is, you can really come off the page and have fun with it because now you're thriving in your creative world.
Absolutely. And that's why I preach SEO and multiple income streams, income diversity, because that is one simple thing you can do that takes a little time getting it set up. But once it's set up, it's like compound interest. It starts bringing in money while you sleep. I have an article that I wrote literally for my students. It's on the best clarinet mouthpiece for intermediate and advanced students. And basically, I saw this need. I was getting all of these calls from parents about equipment, and I'm sure all the flute teachers out there can totally relate to this too. And I keep answering these same questions over and over again. So I just get on Google and I search it to see if I can find an article, and they were terrible. The articles out there, you can tell those people had never even seen a clarinet, let alone played one.
Interesting.
So I wrote this article that literally recommends my top mouthpiece picks. And it answers every question every parent has ever asked me about mouthpieces. Like, hey, it's like taking a flute and upgrading the head joint. Hey, but my flute came with a head joint. Why do I need another one?
Mm.
Well, the flute with the B foot is more expensive. Do I really need that one?
Mm.
And well, why would I need a solid silver flute? My flute's silver. Look at it. Okay, these are questions you get all the time. So I addressed those in the article, and then I literally started sending it out just to my students' parents, the link. But of course, my brain went, I'm going to put Amazon affiliate links in here.
Mm.
Well, that is my top ranking, like that is the best performing post on my entire website. And I wrote it 4 years ago. It still brings in revenue from Amazon every single week.
Congratulations.
So doing things like that, setting stuff up like that will help make you more financially secure so you truly can take the time to live the life you love, to create your art and do what you love.
Yeah, I love that. And that piggybacks off of your, like, literally your mantra right on the homepage of your website. You have written, I help musicians ditch the starving artist lifestyle and get the success they deserve. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I love that. And the reason why I just kind of want to debunk these business terms or this idea of like, oh, business is a 4-letter word or entrepreneurship, I'm not an entrepreneur, is because I want people to thrive. I want them to be in that pocket of having multiple income streams to support themselves. And I believe, you probably know this way better than I do, but I believe I read an article one time that millionaires literally have up to 7 different income streams, if not more. So what happens when your orchestra gig or your orchestra gets put on hold, right? And there's, I was going to say riot, but it's not riot, a strike. When there's a strike, right? Can you imagine all these orchestra members coming out? When there's a strike, what do? You need to have a studio in the background or affiliate links or, whatever the case may be, corporate sponsorships. And you're right. I think the pandemic really woke people up. They really realized, like, if those in-person events or opportunities went away, what will I do? What can I do? And I always say to my listeners all the time, there's always a silver lining in tragedy. So even though, yes, like that pandemic was a wake-up call for a lot of us and a lot of things went away, and you mentioned there were musicians working at the Piggly Wiggly, that's unfortunate. That stinks. But it wakes people up to say, ooh, there's virtual options. Ooh, there's hybrid options. What can I do and how can I get creative? And that word creativity, now let's segue into something else I want to talk about. That is where musicians actually don't realize their strength. We are creative artists. We get really creative with vibrato and articulation choices, things like that. Take that same skill set and pivot and bring it over into the business world, right?
Absolutely. So as creatives, our minds work different than the average person. So you take someone with a 9-to-5 job, they go in and they literally do the same thing every day.
Clock in, clock out.
Yeah, some people really thrive in that environment. But what I have found for me personally, I would be miserable. And I have a more creative mind. I need diversity in what I do. Some people might even say I'm like all over the place, but what it is I'm multi-passionate. I have multiple different passions and I want to pursue them all. And the great thing about being an entrepreneur is you have the power to do that. I mean, I just told you I have a coffee blog, a garden blog, and my TonyaLawson.com blog. I also have courses. I have, and during COVID, I had professional musicians who came to me and started taking my studio building courses because they were panicked. They had to have a way to make a living. A very well-known reggae guitar player I'm not going to say his name because I don't know if he wants that out there, but he took one of my courses because he's like, oh, my gigs got canceled.
Yep.
I have to make a living. And he had never thought about teaching before, but he actually really got into it and loved it. But so, I have courses, I have master classes, I have a membership, and it just builds this wonderful community of creatives that can support each other, bounce ideas off of each other,
Hmm.
and just like share. And I know there are so many musicians and creatives out there that want to stay very guarded with their ideas. Somebody might steal them. Okay, yeah, somebody might, but
Mm.
there is plenty of space in this vast internet
Hmm.
for all of us to be successful. So we need to support each other as creatives and entrepreneurs.
Oh, 1000%. Yeah, there's enough cheese slices from the block to go around.
Yes.
There's
I
a
think we have
big
that
cheese.
giant wheel of
Yeah.
Parmesan you see.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I can imagine a little mouse going up there and nibbling on the block of cheese now. Oh, shoot. But yeah, so as creatives, we have a lot to our advantage and we can use these skills in many different capacities. And it's a powerful tool. It's a win. Actually, I feel empowered. I actually feel as a businesswoman that it has opened up more creative options in my flute playing. Because when I realized, oh, that funnel didn't work, that ad didn't work, can I change the font here? Can I change the color here? What about the picture? Then when I go back to my flute, then I'm like, oh, it gives me permission to like really get messy and not to sound perfect or have a beautiful flute tone all the time. But what if I did this with my airstream? What if I did this with my embouchure? What tone color would be produced if I XYZ? So it's all interconnected.
100%. And I have to say, to tie in on what you said, be a little messy. That is the performances that I've heard in my life that really stand out were those messy performances. And I don't mean messy as in unprepared,
Yeah.
but they really went outside the box.
Mm.
And maybe they missed a note in doing so.
Mm.
I didn't care because I was so enthralled with their performance because they weren't doing the same boring thing everybody else was.
Yep.
And those, like an interesting performance with a miss note is so much better than a perfectly performed boring performance. And you're right, the whole side of being creative. And let's tie in social media. So if you want to be a successful musician today, you probably are on social media. It's just part of the gig these days. And so many social media posts are just so curated. They're so curated. Stories are curated. I'm the opposite of that. I'm going to show you my total chaotic mess because I want you to know me as a person. That's who I am because none of us are these little perfect boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And allowing that imperfection into your performance is going to make it even better and it's going to make it uniquely yours and
Mm-hmm.
help you stand out from others.
Yes, completely. That reminds me of, I've never mentioned this before. It was a recent interview. I don't really listen to her music, but Ariana Grande. She did this live performance. I forget at what gala it was, but it literally was like a heartbreak love story that she was singing. And in that performance, there was a phrase where her voice literally cracked because she was tearing up. And everybody in the comments through Facebook wrote that lyric, that phrase needed that voice crack. It needed that sob. It needed that sigh because that's what brought it to life. And they loved it because it was a human response to what she was singing. And I thought that was so powerful as a flutist. It's such a great reminder that your listener doesn't need it to be perfect. They don't mind the mistakes. They don't mind the cracked notes. They want to feel your heart and soul into the line so they can feel something, so they can pull something out from that performance. And so, anyways, I just thought to bring that up just because I've never said the artist Ariana Grande in Flute 360 before.
No, but that gave me chills because you're right. I can almost imagine it the way you told the story.
Yeah. Cool. So let's get into, so we were talking about creativity and the creative world, the business world, and all that jazz. So let's segue into your expertise. And you mentioned this earlier, SEO. What is it? Why do I need to know about it? And what's your number one tip for me and the listeners?
Okay, so I have found that the majority of creatives hear the word SEO, especially musicians, and they're like, oh, no, I don't know anything about that. I don't want anything to do with that. What do you mean alt text, meta description? What do you mean? This is just a new vocabulary set. It's actually not that hard to understand. Just like as musicians, we see molto rallentando, we say cantabile, we see espressivo. We don't think anything about it. We know exactly what that means. But to a little beginner student, to just a little beginner student, it's not a big deal to us, but to a beginner student, I don't know what that is. What is a doggio? I mean, how many times have you heard that from little kids? And we're like, oh, this is how you pronounce it, and this is what it means. It's the same thing with SEO. It stands for search engine optimization, and all it is what you do to make sure your website shows up when people are searching the internet. That's all it is. It is that simple. Because 97% is it 97 or 93? More than 90% of all online experiences begin in a search engine.
Mm.
So if maybe you play wedding gigs, okay? People are searching for wedding musicians. If you teach flute lessons, well, flute teachers are a dime a dozen, right?
Mm.
So flute teacher near me, or online flute lessons, you want to be showing up at the top so that you can really stand out. And search engine optimization is the way you do it.
I love that. Yes. So how do you measure SEO success?
Okay, SEO success is measured by how many page views your website is getting, but not just page views, how many organic page views.
Okay.
Because organic means that people found it on their own. You did not send them to it. Your website does not need to be your online business card where you send people. The goal of your website is for people to find you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I have seen like music companies and other companies outside of our music industry hire like the big dogs and hiring a full out team to optimize their SEO. Now, I'm sure like Apple and Nike and things like that, they need to have a team because it's a multi-million or a multi-billion dollar company. But for the musicpreneur who has a flute studio, a clarinet studio, etc., is it necessary to hire an SEO team, or is this something that we can learn through this is a good plug, through something like your membership?
Yes. Okay. So no, you do not need to spend thousands of dollars hiring a professional to do it.
Okay.
The reason those big companies hire big SEO teams is because their websites are huge.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you, if you have a website that literally has 10,000 blog posts or 10,000 individual products, you're going to want to hire a team because it just takes time. But I don't think anybody listening to this podcast is in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So SEO is something that you can do yourself, and it's not hard. The other aspect, and the reason I created a membership instead of a course, is SEO changes. Google is constantly changing what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I made it a membership instead of a course. I'm a big SEO nerd. I am out there and I am following all the people who matter with Google. I am reading all of those super techie newsletters that other people just the eyes glaze over.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I do is I take that and I just make it just plain old ordinary English my grandma would understand. And I put it in my membership so people will get it.
Yeah.
And the good news is the fact that Google has changed things so much that it's actually benefiting us creatives. Because the thing that we were doing all along, creating what we wanted to create instead of creating what we thought Google wanted to create, is what Google now wants. So whereas some of these big websites who were just centered around what Google wants tanked, other websites started climbing up because they were doing this all along. But there are certain things you need to do to make sure you rank.
Okay. So I do know a little bit about SEO, and I know like external links, internal links, backlinks, keywords. What is like one thing that a Flute 360 listener can start implementing for their website, like right now, like one actionable step?
Okay. The number one thing is keywords.
Okay.
And I know the thought of trying to come up with keywords or hearing the phrase targeted keywords seems totally overwhelming sometimes. Keywords are simply what you type into the search engine to solve your problem. So, for example, I lost water pressure to my kitchen sink faucet.
Okay.
That's a keyword. You click on that and you find a website from like a plumbing company that has steps you can take to fix that on your own. What you just found is a blog post. People don't think about that being a blog post, but that's what that is. So that's how it all works. So, for example, if you wanted to write an article on how to teach articulation to beginners on flute, because we know that's always a problem. They're either huffing or, bless her, I once had a student who had heard the connotation spitting watermelon seeds, and she literally would stick her tongue out of her mouth every time she tried to tongue. She looked like a little lizard. But so you write that article. When you write it, or you have services you're offering, when you're writing the copy for that page, you need to focus on what would someone type in to an internet search that would bring them to this page. So you wouldn't want flute articulation. That brings up a bunch of things. So maybe teaching flute articulation to beginners. That would be your keyword. So you want every single page on your website, whether it be a blog post, whether it be you selling CDs or you booking gigs or you teaching lessons, every single page on your website, when you're creating the text that goes on it, think to yourself, what would someone type into a Google search that would send them to this page, and incorporate that into the page?
Perfect. And basically, you are having Google Analytics do the heavy lifting for you. Like if you have it set up correctly, the right people are going to be attracted to that content, attracted to you and to your offerings.
Yes, if you set it up correctly, Google is going to go, oh, that's what this is about. And they're going to start matching it up with those search instructions. So if somebody typed in the phrase, how do I teach, a band director's out there, how do I teach articulation to beginner flutes? Okay, you wrote that article. Google in the past may have just thrown out a bunch of flute articulation articles, but now you have one with that specific keyword, and Google is smart, and Google's going to go, oh, you up here. And then band directors are like, maybe you're only in the 4th position. Band directors are out there skimming the articles, and they're like, oh, beginners, click. Well, more are clicking that article. So Google's like, oh, this is important. So they start moving it up and moving it up. And soon you're ranking number 1.
I love that. And I want to go back to what you said earlier, because some people may have missed it. But from one businesswoman to another, what you just said about your membership and how it's set up is genius. I loved how you said you distinctly made it intentional where it wasn't a course, because the Google Analytics and the SEO things, these elements, they change all the time. So in a membership, you get to have these live check-ins with you, I'm sure like once a month or however it's set up. But for the musicpreneurs out there who are thinking about how to package your offerings, that was really smart. And I'm glad that you brought that up.
Oh, yeah. I do a new training every single month, and I get those training ideas directly from my members. One of my members is a flute player who is a composer, and I don't know that this is all public, so I'm not using any names or anything, but her music just got picked up by a big publishing company. So she's no longer selling it herself. And her thing was, how do I SEO optimize these product descriptions for each of my flute pieces without it being the exact same thing over and over again? Because if it's the exact same thing, Google will consider it plagiarism.
Okay.
So I did a whole training on how to optimize those product descriptions for people who have product-based businesses. So I listen to my members and I create the content they want because I'm here for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I do also have a group coaching call once a month that people can come to and they can ask me questions. I can look at stuff that they've written. I can look at their I've done live website audits on those calls. Hot seat coaching, all of that is included.
Wow. Well, you've convinced me. I need to sign up. And I'm not just saying that just to say that, like, literally, I need to sign up because I know, like, as a multi-passionate entrepreneur, I have 4 different businesses. I have 4 different websites. That is a lot of work. And if I'm going to do it, I need to do it well. And I need it to bring the traffic that I'm paying WordPress in order to host my website through WordPress, the GoDaddy URLs, it adds up. So if I'm going to have that website, I loved what you said earlier. Don't let it just be this digital business card. Let it actually be working for you and bringing in these different income streams for your classes, lessons, master classes, etc.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very cool. Awesome. So you're going to send me the link later, right?
I'm totally going to send you the link.
Okay. I love that. So when you and I were Voxering, you had mentioned that you have an upcoming October release of something. Can you tell the listeners about that?
Well, I'm actually opening the doors to my membership this October.
Nice.
And it's gonna start with a waitlist launch.
Okay.
And if you're on the waitlist, you get bonuses. You're gonna get a discount on it. You're gonna get 20% off the full year, whether you pay in advance or whether you pay all upfront or whether you opt to pay monthly. You're gonna get 20% off.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also going to get, if you sign up through the wait list, you're going to get a free website audit from me and a one-on-one call to get you started. And if you choose to sign up later, you lose those bonuses, but you can still get in there because I'm not opening it again until next year.
Okay, cool. So when does the wait list deadline, when does that go into effect?
The waitlist opens. Okay, so I haven't announced this yet, but that's okay. You're going to know first. The waitlist is going to open on Monday.
Oh, nice.
So this coming Monday. And if for some reason this does not make it out while that waitlist is still open, just have your listeners send me a DM on Instagram and I will still give them that offer.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you. Yeah. No, I will make sure that this airs in a timely fashion so that way it's in sync with that launch and the wait list. I love that. Very cool. So as we're wrapping up, Tonya, is there anything that you just want to purge from your heart? Because I always love, and my listeners get tired of me saying this, but I love it. I want to put a nice bow, a beautifully wrapped bow on this amazing conversation. And I would hate to pull the rug out from underneath you and you're like, oh my gosh, we're done. We're saying goodbyes. I wanted to say blank. So anything you really feel called to let the 360ers know about said topic, whatever's on your heart.
Okay, what I'm actually feeling called to tell everyone, it has nothing to do with what I teach. It has nothing to do with search engine optimization.
Okay.
It has to do with being successful, not just as a musician, but as a person. You need to prioritize your health. And I'm speaking from experience here. I have experienced burnout. I ended up with long COVID. And it is, that still plagues me. And you have to prioritize your health because as musicians, we were trained in music school to go, 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 go. Never say no. If you say no to something, it may not come back. So it's okay to say no to a low paying gig.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. And prioritize your sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I go to bed at 9:00 every night religiously. That's what my body wants. That's what my body needs. And I make sure that happens because the old adage, you can't pour from an empty cup, is so true. And if your art becomes something that you're enslaved to, it's no longer fun.
Exactly. Yep. I have a non-negotiable, and we are in bed at the latest 10 o'clock every night. Around 8:39 is like, oh, we're starting to get tired. And I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. And speaking from like a former night owl, I used to be, going to bed at midnight, 1 a.m. So for me to say I'm going to bed religiously every night at 10 o'clock is like a shocker even to me. But that's my non-negotiable now, because now I know my body needs, like you said earlier, it needs 9 to 10 hours every night solid. Because there's so much that you want to do the next day, and you need to be energized and have that vitality to get through studio things, business things, etc. And I don't know, like it feels really good. It feels really good to kind of put that hard line in the sand and say, this is for me, this is for my family, and this is for my well-being.
100%.
Yeah, awesome. Well, do you have a pick for the day? Is there something that you have been reading, watching, something that you'd like to share?
Yes. I actually I'm in part of a business mastermind. And as a mastermind, we just did a little book club series, and we just finished reading the book, The Manifestation Wheel by Alan Seal. And it really opened my eyes to a lot of things. I always thought manifestation was one of those woo-woo things, but it really explores the scientific basis behind it. And it's one of those books that actually tells you, you know what, manifestation is not you just thinking into reality. You have to actually take steps to make it happen.
Yeah.
But I had planned to cut back on my private lesson teaching, and I had planned to be down to just 2 schools. I was going into 5 schools.
Yep.
I was planning on being down to 2 schools within the next 3 years. That happened this year.
Congratulations.
2 years early. So yeah. So that book, it's gold. It's fabulous.
Oh, thank you for that. I love that book recommendation. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for letting me pick your brain and just purging your expertise. I know I learned a lot, and I know that the listener has learned a lot too. So can you give off your social media handles, website as we're wrapping this up?
Absolutely. So my website is TonyaLawson.com. That's Tonya. And then my YouTube, my Instagram, and my TikTok are all the same at dr.TonyaLawson, at Dr. Tonya Lawson.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tonya. And I hope you have a blessed weekend and a fantastic October. And we will be in touch very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Tonya.
Okay. Bye.
If you loved today's episode, please share it with your flute friends, students, and colleagues so more flutists can become 360ers like you. Together, we're building a stronger, more empowered flute community. Thanks for tuning in. You're a part of a movement that's all about personal, artistic, and career growth. So go ahead, hit that share button, and let's bring more flutists into the 360 journey. Let's talk about flute.